Hi there, Alan here. So I want to share a story from my own journey, and it has to do with fear, feeling unsafe and feeling safe. It has to do with finances, has to do with trusting the Lord. And I guess you could also say that it has to do with kicking and screaming through the fires of transformation. So if you are in the midst of that, my heart goes out to you. I hope and pray that maybe some of the things that I share will somehow make sense to you, maybe understand what you went through, understand what you're going through. So, trust in the Lord with all your heart. And do not rely on your own understanding. Think about Him in all your ways, and He will guide you on the right paths. So, this goes back to the second round of Corona. And by then I had been without my home for quite a few years, going back and forth between Denmark, Norway, staying with my mom and my dad, who was in home for elderly people then. And but by then I had found a place out in the countryside, rented this lovely little place by the seashore, very cheap, didn't have to pay any deposit, and I could just get by with a small part-time job, teaching in the evenings, and some money that our mom gave us as siblings after she sold a cabin. So I could just get by. I felt fairly safe. I had been in situations that were completely unpredictable, just throwing me from one thing to the other. I had to move out from one place because of mold. I took a test, and the test said dangerous level of mold, contact an expert, and I just had to get out of there as soon as possible. And at this point I started to store my things in a storage room. So many of those, so much of that happened again and again. It's like giving me timeouts and throwing me out into uncertainty. But anyway, many years had passed by, and I rented this place. I had a place to live. I had this job. I still couldn't work, and but I wrote some of my stories there, which is what I love to do. And then there's this month going by where we don't know yet if there will be a lockdown or not. So I contact my employer and I ask them if there will be some sort of compensation, like salary compensation, if there will be a lockdown. And yes, the answer is yes. And then, to make a longer story short, a few days, and I trust in that, feeling safe about that, but a few days before that, I am told that I will not get a salary compensation, but I can contact this and this place, and they can help me. And so, as the And because of the lockdown, people do not sign up for the classes as they would normally do, and since this is a kind of job that is dependent upon people signing up for the classes, and it's all this back and forth, but I'm just like, what? And so I start calling like people and various places to ask about what can I do, what are my opportunities. I have this job now, I'm not getting any compensation, and I think I did that for a couple of days, and everywhere where that I called, it was like a shut door, like boom, boom, boom. And I was getting more and more distressed emotionally, thinking, what? Now what? And the last person I talked to, I just end up crying my eyes out on the phone. And he's actually compassionate. He's showing compassion. But he says, I'm so sorry. There is nothing I can do. And so I have a coffee date with 2 women. And I have to cancel it because I am so distressed by this. And the word homeless, like living on the streets, homeless, begins to sort of take shape in my mind. And as I sit with it, I go into the distress also, I know there is something to clear, there is something to look at, because being in that kind of distress, and the feeling was just feeling abandoned, totally abandoned by everyone. Every place that I called, it was like a shut door. And for me to ask for a loan when I did not have an income, like a regular income, and my working capacity was just, I couldn't work. So that was difficult for me. In retrospect, I could have done that. In retrospect, I could have asked the landlord, I'm sorry, but this has happened. But, it's pride, So I go into this deep hole, and I sit with it, and I sit with it, and I see a woman lying on a concrete floor inside a cell. There is hardly any light coming into the cell. She's all by her own, all alone, abandoned. And I sit with it, and I see it, and then she's been sentenced to burn at the stake. Everyone has abandoned her. Her friends, her family. No one is there to help her. This is her faith, her destiny, her... no one can stop this from happening. No one will stop this from happening. And as I sit there, I feel the distress. I feel the abandonment. I feel what she must have felt. And I start to send love. And I just start to say, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And I mean, whether this was me at some time or whether it was collective, clearing, I don't know, but it was what happened. And then I calm down and I start searching the internet for what opportunities I would have being homeless. Like places you can go to, stuff like that. And this is, by the way, this is Friday, and then the payment of the rent is due on Monday, like 3 days later. So this is, I have to sort of figure out something rather quickly. And then, by the grace of God, my brother calls me the day after. I think it was the day after, either Saturday or Sunday. And he doesn't call me that often. But I tell him what has happened. And he says, well, you are not to blame for any of this. And he'll help me. He helps me. He transfers money so that I can get by another month and pay the rent on that Monday. By the grace of God, this happens. And I cannot tell you how many times this has happened, that in the very last day or so, like when I've paid my last bill, by the end of the month there would be maybe $20 on my account or something. Maybe not even. It was just learning to balance on an edge almost. And learning to feel unsafe in all these extreme situations that I can't even call extreme when you look at what is happening in the world. But to me and in my life, it felt like my own kind of war, And then, little by little, when all these miracles happen, like small miracles, some would call them small miracles, but to me they are huge miracles. And so little by little, the switch is towards surrender. Surrender and trust. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. And do not rely on your own understanding. So my own understanding. Do not rely on your own understanding. That is our ego, who wants to control things and be in charge of things. And if things do not go according to plan, the panic and the fear and the need to control. I was never the worst person when it came to that, but we all have it, you know. So in that way, it's been a really interesting journey. And I'm still on that journey. But to feel safe, that the Lord is with us. What's not to like? Ego, fear, the demons, the devil wants us to be kicking and screaming. The Lord wants us to trust in Him with all our hearts. Yeah, that was the story. Stay beautiful and stay blessed.